If you want to understand a woman, if you want to predict her loyalty, her stability, and her capacity for genuine partnership, you must stop analyzing her in isolation. Her true character, the character she reverts to when the performance stops, is not defined by her, but by the gravitational field of her closest circle. This is not a quaint saying or a motivational quote. This is a cold, hard biological reality of social proof and psychological validation. You need to understand the 4 inescapable types of friend groups that reveal everything about her past choices and her future potential. But before we dive into the specific dynamics of this social laboratory, I want to know where this reality check is landing. The critical mistake men make when dating a woman is viewing her as an independent agent, operating on isolated principles. You believe she acts according to the values she presents to you, the aspirational version of herself she puts on display during the courtship phase. Her behavior is not autonomous, it is validated. Her friend group is not merely a collection of acquaintances, it is her psychological anchor, her behavioral echo chamber, and the collective jury that validates every single choice she makes, especially the bad ones. If you watch her interactions with her friends, you are watching her future self in action. You are observing the internal rules of engagement that govern her behavior when you are not around. Think about the function of a close friend group. It serves as a fortress against external criticism and as a constant source of internal normalization. If her friends were women of high moral character, stability, and high standards for men and for themselves, they would challenge her destructive patterns. They would intervene. But most friend groups, especially those built during the years of high relational marketplace value, do the exact opposite. They enforce a shared narrative. They normalize promiscuity, casual betrayal, and emotional instability under the banner of female empowerment and self-discovery. When she tells her friends about a conflict with you, about a boundary you set, or a standard you enforce, her friends do not ask, "What was your role in this conflict?" Instead, they ask, "How dare he? You deserve better." The language within that group is a powerful predictor of the language she will use against you when the relationship hits its first inevitable hardship. If her friends consistently tell her that conflict is a sign to exit, that setting boundaries is controlling, or that she should always prioritize her own ephemeral feelings over commitment, then that is the core programming she will utilize when your marriage is on the line. The collective validation of the friend group ensures that she never has to take genuine accountability for her past. She can successfully rewrite her own history because she has 4 or 5 co-writers in the room who agree to the revised script. They were there for the breakdowns, the frantic calls, the midnight drama, and the specific men she truly chased versus the ones she settled for. They know exactly why the last 4 serious relationships ended. And if you dare to ask a sensitive question about her past, her friends will immediately rally to defend the agreed-upon narrative, shutting down your inquiry with manufactured outrage or emotional manipulation. The group functions like an immune system, attacking any external force, namely you, that threatens the established status quo of their shared reality. This is why meeting the friend group is not a superficial social event. It is a compulsory background check. If that support structure is fundamentally unstable, resistant to commitment, and deeply committed to a narcissistic, high-drama lifestyle, she will inevitably be dragged back toward that mean. Even if she genuinely tries to change for you, her friends will act as behavioral gravity, constantly pulling her back to the comfortable, validated chaos they all share. They resent your high standards because they are the same standards they failed to meet, and they will work actively, often subconsciously, to sabotage your union because your success highlights their failure to achieve long-term partnership with a high-value man. Some women keep separate sets of friends: the work friends, the stable friends, and the deeply chaotic friends who hold the keys to her real past. When you meet her social circle, you must assess which group she brings you around. The women she spends time with late on a Friday night, the women she runs to when a minor crisis happens, those are the women who define her. And often, men only meet the sanitized, presentable versions of the friends, the ones who know how to perform stability for a new potential provider. Pay attention to the subtle cues that reveal the nature of the group dynamic. Listen to the conversation subjects. Or are they fixated on past drama, gossip, excessive consumption, and complaints about men who allegedly wronged them. The language of the group reveals its emotional maturity. If their relationships are all short-term, high-intensity, and explosive, you are looking into your own future. She is not an exception to the group pattern. She is a participant in the group identity. If her friends are all dating equally unstable or lower-value men, it makes her feel better about settling for less than optimal. She can look around and say, "At least my man is better than Sarah's," thereby internally justifying your relationship based on low standards. She may constantly strive to align her experiences with theirs, leading to chronic dissatisfaction in your stable, often less dramatic relationship. Her exposure to a friend's exciting, albeit temporary life causes her to constantly question your long-term stability. This is why the presence of perpetual victims and drama queens in her circle is a terminal red flag. Drama is a social currency for low-value friend groups. If her friends are constantly in manufactured crises, fights with bosses, volatile breakups, financial catastrophes, this behavior suggests a fundamental inability to manage adult life. And because they are her closest confidants, they are teaching her that instability is normal, that helplessness is acceptable, and that constant emotional volatility is just part of life. A woman who surrounds herself with chaos will always find chaos, even if she has to introduce it into your perfectly ordered existence just to feel psychologically aligned with her peer group. She needs the external chaos to justify the internal disorder that her friends validate. You cannot save a woman from her friends. If that infrastructure is rotten, your foundation is guaranteed to crumble. A man who tries to isolate a woman from a chaotic friend group is doomed to fail. The resentment will be unbearable, and the social gravity will eventually win. This is not about being judgmental. This is about critical risk assessment. Her friends are the living evidence of her past values, her current acceptance level of chaos, and her future willingness to accept accountability. In the next part, we're going to get into the specific mechanics of recognition. We will map out the 4 distinct archetypes of friend groups that categorize the vast majority of women's social circles. Each group dictates a specific relationship outcome for you. Right now, I am asking you to prove that you are paying attention to the details that matter. Do not just say, "I agree." I want a specific phrase. I want you to drop the comment. "My warning sign was the friend group." Put that phrase in the comments below right now. You absolutely need to subscribe and like this video. Your investment of 2 seconds ensures you are notified instantly when the actionable intelligence drops. We are not leaving you in the dark. Prepare yourself. You must understand the 4 friend group types, so you never again mistake a shared narrative for genuine character. The level of clarity we achieve in the next segment is going to fundamentally change the way you screen every future partner. This is the critical inflection point. We detailed the 4 fundamental friend group types that function as the clearest mirrors, reflecting a woman's true past and predicting her future capacity for fidelity and commitment. We are talking about risk management, and the risk exponentially multiplies when you realize that her closest circle acts as her perpetual validation committee, continuously reinforcing her past behaviors while actively undermining your attempts to establish a stable, conventional future. You are seeking partnership. Her friends are often seeking confirmation bias, and they will use her relationship with you as fodder for their collective narrative. The first group, the perpetual partygoers and attention seekers, are the women who thrive on external validation, still chasing the dopamine rush of late nights, high-status environments, and the competitive display of sexuality, even into their late 30s. When your partner is connected to this group, the consequence for you is a guaranteed state of comparison and perpetual anxiety. Your stable, quiet, resource-building life is constantly contrasted with the perceived excitement and fleeting attention her friends still cultivate. They will subtly or overtly encourage your partner to critique your choices, your lifestyle, and your provision, because to admit that stability is fulfilling invalidates their own sustained pursuit of chaos. They keep the mental comparison mechanism, the comparison disease we discussed, active and chronic. She looks at your quiet dinner and then at her friends' Instagram stories from the latest rooftop bar, and the thought planted in her mind is not gratitude, but, did I settle too soon? The second group, the bitter ideologues and feminist crusaders, are those defined by a narrative of external blame and victimhood. These women are defined by profound resentment toward men generally, toward traditional expectations, and often toward any man who achieves success without acknowledging their preferred systemic narrative. The consequence of association with this group is the destruction of gratitude and the introduction of toxicity disguised as empowerment. This circle will validate every criticism she ever levels at you, framing your reasonable boundaries as control and your financial provision as patriarchal expectation. If she has a conflict with you, she goes to them, and they do not offer counsel toward repair and compromise. They offer immediate collective validation for exit and antagonism. They prevent her from taking accountability for her past relationship failures, ensuring that she brings that same pattern of externalized blame directly into your life. You are not just marrying her, you are entering a relationship with the collective psychological instability of her entire validation circle. Their life is a carousel of emotional intensity, where stability is inherently boring and drama is necessary for feeling alive. The consequence of her connection to this group is the sabotage of genuine intimacy and the normalization of instability. Moreover, because this group defines love as intensity and volatility, your partner may subconsciously seek to inject drama into your stable relationship, confusing conflict with passion. She has learned that relationship survival means constantly having a dramatic story to tell, and when your partnership is calm and secure, she feels emotionally starved or tempted to create the necessary friction just to keep pace with her friend's expected level of shared relational chaos. The fourth group, and arguably the most telling, are the outlier conventionalists. This group consists of women who achieved genuine commitment and stability earlier, married in their 20s or early 30s, perhaps already raising children, and who maintain values of marital priority and domestic investment. If your partner maintains this group as her primary circle, you must recognize that she is the anomaly, the one playing catch-up. The consequence here is subtle but potent, the pressure to compensate. This fuels the extreme urgency around commitment and the rapid escalation of timelines, the need to go from dating to engagement to pregnancy in 18 months or less. She is not seeking a relationship pace that is healthy for you. She is seeking a pace that alleviates her biological and social anxiety by trying to bridge the gap between her reality and her friend's established stability. This pressure can manifest as silent resentment toward you if you do not perform the catch-up role fast enough. She may also find herself feeling secretly judged by her friends, causing her to overcompensate by criticizing your stable lifestyle, just to prove to them and herself that she hasn't entirely given up the exciting aspects of her past. The common thread uniting these risks is the concept of the uncommitted partner proxy. When a woman's foundational friend group reflects instability, comparison, or resentment, she is actively maintaining psychological ties to a past identity that is fundamentally incompatible with being a devoted, low-drama spouse. Her friends are proxies for the high-intensity, uncommitted lifestyle she supposedly left behind. And in moments of conflict, doubt, or temptation, these proxies will always win, pulling her back toward the familiar comfort of shared irresponsibility and externalized blame. Loyalty is not a switch you turn on when the ring is on the finger. It is a psychological habit forged by years of choices and maintained by the surrounding social circle. A woman who has been consistently validated for prioritizing her own emotional instability, for exiting relationships when difficulty arises, and for maximizing her options, cannot suddenly rewire that psychological conditioning because a stable man proposed to her after her biological window began to close. She might perform the role of the devoted partner perfectly for the first year, but the moment genuine friction occurs, a career setback for you, the stress of a newborn child, or simply the slow erosion of novelty, she consults her validation committee. And that committee, comprised of women who have either failed at long-term commitment or deeply resent the idea of conventional submission, will always advise her to prioritize herself, to seek excitement, and to exit the relationship, just as they have trained themselves to do. You must internalize this truth. You cannot be the sole positive influence against a unified, daily system of negative reinforcement. Her friends represent her deepest comfort zone. So, here is the final definitive filter you must apply, the conclusion that seals the deal on whether you proceed or protect your future. First filter, the loyalty test. Observe how she discusses her friends' poor decisions and relationship turmoil. Or does she defend their most destructive behaviors, justifying their lack of responsibility with vague terms like self-care or living their best life? If she excuses chronic instability in her friends, she is preemptively excusing it for herself. Second filter, the time investment test. How much time and emotional energy does she divert from your relationship to manage the drama and crisis cycles of her friend group? If your date night is constantly interrupted by texts or urgent phone calls from a friend in crisis, you are not dating a stable woman. You are dating a crisis manager who prioritizes external drama over internal security. This external dependence is a massive red flag indicating she has not successfully established her own boundaries or emotional center, relying instead on the intense, shared feedback loop of her collective. Third filter, the friend's opinion of you test. Do her friends genuinely celebrate your commitment and respect the stable path you are building? Or do they subtly communicate skepticism, often asking thinly veiled questions about your income, your excitement level, or her commitment to her independence? If her friends treat you as a temporary stepping stone or a necessary convenience, they are signaling their collective expectation that this relationship will, like her previous ones, ultimately fail. They view you through the lens of their own failure and comparison, and they will try to pull her down to their level rather than celebrate her rise to stability. The knowledge you have now is a shield. This knowledge is not about judgment. It is about self-preservation. When you commit, you are merging your identity, your future resources, and your reproductive capital with hers. A woman who maintains a primary social circle defined by the 4 toxic types we identified is signaling loudly and clearly that her definition of success and stability is fundamentally incompatible with the construction of a low-drama, high-trust, and mutually devoted partnership. You must stop telling yourself that your unique love, your stability, or your resources will be enough to change a woman whose habits are reinforced daily by her chosen inner counsel. Change must be internal, and it must be demonstrated consistently, not just performed temporarily for your benefit. If the group is resentful, she is prone to resentment. If the group prioritizes comparison, she will compare you to others for the rest of your life. Use it, protect yourself. Do not become the casualty of her friend group's collective resentment. You now possess the clarity necessary to navigate these dynamics with strength and wisdom. You are making the commitment to truth right now. We want to know the slogan that represents your realization of this powerful truth. You are clicking the like button immediately because you understand the immense value of this perspective, and you are subscribing to this channel right now, committing to continuous, unfiltered truth that fortifies your decision-making. Commit now, do not wait. We are going to explore the 5 specific linguistic traps women deploy when they attempt to hide their instability and relationship baggage, teaching you exactly how to listen for the truth hidden beneath their carefully crafted words. You are going to learn how to hear what she doesn't say. Be ready for that definitive knowledge,